Good evening and welcome to Norwalk City School District Board of Education regular meeting, Tuesday, October 10th. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Crawford.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Norris.
Here.
Mr. Ritzendal.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have a motion for adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Ritzendal.
Yes.
Special presentation.
Yeah, so over a year ago, we talked about how we're going to use our ESSER funds, laid out a series of projects and activities. So Jen, Dan, and myself are going to speak to that now, and Joyce, on a few of the items that we have done. So there aren't too many things that we have talked about that we actually haven't made happen. So whether it be infrastructure type things, personnel, those things we've matched and very effectively used our money that's been given to us. So we'll start with Mrs. Gerber.
So I'm going to talk about some of the technology things and then the major curriculum areas that we covered with the ESSER money. So last year, as Mr. Cooley said, we had talked about replacing our phones. That was kind of the big thing. And so originally we said we were going to replace our 2 phone servers and stick with our same phone system. And after having a conversation with NOACA, who provides our internet, they recommended a different system to us. So a gentleman from another ESC, we talked with him, and we realized we could save a lot of money by switching to this new system. So we ended up actually putting a new server in every single school building rather than have 2. But that also meant, unfortunately, that we had to replace every single bracket on every single wall, because of course, it couldn't work out that they were nice and universal. So we spent a good portion of the early part of the summer drilling holes in the walls and replacing 300 plus phones in the entire school district. The project honestly was a little bit of a nightmare. Nothing tends to go smoothly the first time with a lot of technological items, but we had a lot of delays, hiccups, not on our end, and we had originally intended for this project to be finished in the beginning of August, and we ended up not finishing until about 2 weeks into the school year. With that being said, Tim Lovato, who's in my department, one of our technicians, he worked wonders and made sure that day one we were up and functioning. And at the end of the day, we ended up saving about $100,000 with this new phone system. So even though it created a lot of headaches for us, we have 7 different servers now that we have to maintain. That also turned into a very good thing, because I'm sure a lot of you heard that a semi hit some wires a couple weeks ago. Instead of knocking out the entire district, it only knocked out 3 out of our 7 buildings. So that was a positive. And again, good functioning phones, they'll last us hopefully another 10 to 12 years like this current system did, and a good cost saving for the district. The second major project that we took on this summer was replacing all of the fiber runs and cabling throughout the district, replacing access points, and also increasing the bandwidth for the district. We had a lot of devices before we started this summer. We added more devices, and we've continued to add programs and things like that that rely on our internet. So we wanted to make that go smoother this year for our staff. So what we did, we replaced over 2,000 feet of fiber runs and cabling in our entire district. We added 48 Ps to bring us over 200 access points. Kyle Scheid and Chris Adams, they started this before school was even out. I mean, they worked their way through all these buildings, replaced these things without disrupting our internet service too much, and got those things all up and running before we were about halfway through the summer, which is great. We replaced our bandwidth from about 1 gig to 10 gigs. And really what this is, if you think about it, it's like we took our internet from a 1-lane highway up to a 10-lane highway. And then all the cabling and stuff, we took our dirt roads up to nice paved roads. So that'll hopefully make all of our internet run a lot smoother. All of these devices run smoother. The system that we switched to, it allows us to troubleshoot from our phones. We have an app where we can see every single access point in the district. We can see how much traffic goes through them, turn things on and off. So that's made things a lot easier on our end. So the cost of this project, originally we had said about $279,000. We have a great program called E-Rate that we can get money back to us though. So this $279,000 project only ended up costing us about $57,000 because of that. And these are infrastructure things that should last us for years. So very positive things on that. The last major projects that we saw a great demonstration of were the Clever Touch devices. So we had a great demonstration from Cassie Baker, one of our elementary teachers came in here. We sold this to our high school and our middle school staff as a huge improvement over the classroom setups. And this was another project that ran into some major hiccups because of shipping delays. So again, we had this wonderful dream that we were going to get all these devices in by June, have them all up and installed, everything ready to go. And we got most of them in about a month before school started. Yeah. So 130 devices that needed to be put into all 6 buildings throughout the district. And again, the only reason that this was made to happen was our awesome maintenance staff, Tim Scheel and Corey Schmidt, and all the maintenance workers that work for them, and then the guys in my department. So I owe them a huge thanks. I said this on opening day to the staff, but without them, all of this stuff would not be able to happen. So when school started, again, we always have some hiccups with the technology and things like that, but it's drastically improved our classroom setups. We don't have these massive cables and things like that anymore. The sound quality is better, the picture quality is better. And not only that, but we've been able to put some of these on carts like we've got here, drag them around the buildings. We've used them for professional development. Our MH kids were out here this morning doing activity songs with Lindsay Hyman and Allison Dowdy. So we've made good use of them in the classroom, but also in other spaces, which is awesome to see. And one of the good things that came out of this was in our elementary buildings, we were going to put 65-inch screens in there. They were so delayed with the shipping. Every time I would check, sorry, they're coming. But every other school district apparently around us was ordering these devices as well. So finally, about a month before school, our rep called me and said, listen, we can't get the 65 inches until after school starts, which would have been hugely disappointing because we really wanted to get these projects done before school started. So instead, she offered to upgrade all of those panels to 75 inches for free. And we said, absolutely yes. So we
Think about that.
didn't have to think
I
about that too
remember a
much.
board member saying, let's go big.
That's right.
I do remember someone
Yes.
saying that to my right here. So.
So we did. So all of the older panels that we had in Pleasant and Lee, they were all replaced with 75 inches. Did cause a couple people, some little spacing issues, but we were willing to accept that because when you counted it all up at the end of the day, that's about $60,000 upgrade that we don't have to pay for. So now we're basically one-to-one with all these devices in our buildings. And again, we're providing training on that for teachers. We're looking to provide some more advanced training on our October PD Day to put some more advanced ways that we can use these and integrate, the interactive part with the kids and things like that. So that worked out really well for us. On the curriculum side of things, so one of the things that we talked about last year was iReady. This is a major program that not only fits legislative requirements for a gifted screener, KRA screener, things like that, but it also provides reading intervention for our kids. And it's provided not only those check the box features, but it's also provided some consistent data, K-10, that we can use that travels every year from kid to kid. So now our grade 5 teachers can have the same conversation with grade 3 teachers using these data points. So that's been a very good program for us as well. The other major curriculum thing that we implemented last year was adopting this K-5 reading series, the Wonders reading series. So we had some delays with that as well. With shipping and things like that, that always happens when you're ordering a lot of bulk stuff. But we also tried to make sure that we provided our teachers with opportunities not only to receive training on this series, but more importantly, time to meet together, work with their teams, and make sure that this goes smoothly this year. And this is going to be an ongoing process for us to make sure that this is implemented correctly. And one of the most positive things that I've seen is the conversations happening. So the conversations that happen between the grade levels and the teachers saying, okay, we're all overwhelmed right now, but we want to make sure that this is done consistently. And that was one of the messages that I've said to all the buildings, that we're looking for consistency with this implementation, not perfection. We know that the first year that you implement any kind of new program, there's going to be bumps, you're not going to get it all right. We don't expect everybody to. But we've already seen, like I said, great conversations happening amongst the teachers, and we've seen things being done consistently and good faith effort to implement this program. So that's really positive on my end. The other major thing that we focused on with curriculum things was organ healing camp training. So this was required by legislation for all of our teachers K-3 to receive dyslexia training. And rather than saying, okay, we're going to try to do the bare minimum, go watch the modules, do other kinds of PD, we wanted to have our teachers receive training in something that they would use in their classrooms and use it consistently. So if you've seen those items come up when we have organ healing camp training, all of our K-3 teachers are going to receive that training. And then there's also building level expectations for how they're using that in their classroom, which has been really important to us as well. Our elementary staff has had a ton of stuff thrown at them. I mean, all of our staff has. but elementary in particular. And on top of everything that comes trying to corral a classroom full of little children. So me being a high school teacher, I don't know how they do it, but we have just got great people. We've got great people in our whole district, but K to 6 in our elementary buildings, from our literacy coordinators, our aides that are helping with the progress monitoring things, our teachers and principals, they're the reason that any of this stuff works. And as I mentioned on the opening day to the staff, all this technology stuff, they're great tools to help them, but at the end of the day, they don't replace the great people that we have working in our district. So I'm very thankful for them because again, this stuff is great, that we put in the classrooms, but at the end of the day, it's our people that really make a difference. So I appreciate that. And I think that was the last of my areas. So I'll hand off to Dan.
Thank you.
All right, juniors, what do you think about Clever Touch? You guys like them in the classroom? Yeah, head shake. Let that be noted for the live stream. Many junior heads are nodding yes.
So last year, when we put together our plan and our items, one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was the impact that these items and these programs would have for our students, our staff. So as we go through those, as Jen just mentioned, these are the things that we thought would have the biggest impact. And so far, they have, they've lived up to that. Also, during that time when we made the presentation, we were looking at other sources of revenue that we could use to kind of offset or to help free up some of the ESSER money through other grants, whether federal grants, school safety grants. So some of the things that I'm going to go through, we were able to use other sources of funding for that. One of them, and this was actually an ESSER purchase, and probably one of the more popular items on our list, and that is the book vending machines. Huge thing for our district. The students love it. I just checked with the principals today. Hundreds of books have gone through the vending machines and into students' hands. So, with a focus on literacy, that is a huge win for our kids. Not only that, but with the incentive plan that goes with that, with the tokens, so it serves a dual purpose. But the kids, they love it. Main Street just got theirs in August, so it's starting to catch on there. So that was a huge purchase for our buildings, Maplehurst through Main Street. The other thing we looked at is looking at putting the GPS systems in our buses. We looked initially for the ESSER money, but through our school safety grant, that's what we are planning to do with that. And hopefully that will be in place, soon before Christmas, so we can have the GPS system up and going before the school year's out. So it'll be a smooth transition. So that'll be a huge asset for our transportation. The Boys and Girls Clubs of America, that was one of the things that we were looking at ESSER, but we were able to offset that with some of our wellness money. We did not get the 21st Century Grant, or the Boys and Girls Club didn't, so we will continue to look at other ways of funding that program. We've had, for the school year program, we've had over 60 kids that have been coming, to the Boys and Girls Club. So, having some, growing pains, but, we're making it go, and it's going to continue to grow and flourish for sure. Also with the Boys and Girls Club, we got this grant called the Stronger Connections Grant, and that is to help the Boys and Girls Club with technology. And through that grant, we were able to purchase Chromebooks, a set of Chromebooks, and a Clever Touch for their use that's dedicated for the Boys and Girls Club. So that will help them tremendously. We purchased microscopes and science supplies for Main Street. Their science classes, their microscopes were starting to break. They are expensive, so we used the ESSER funds to replace some of the microscopes. The new band and orchestra chairs for the middle school, the band and choir room upgrade at the middle school. The band room for years had carpeting on the walls, for the acoustics. Over the summer, that was taken down, and the acoustic panels were put up, so a much nicer, environment for the band room at the middle school. Sensory items for the early childhood, Maplehurst, and the intermediate levels. We looked at using ESSER money for that, but we were able to use other sources like the American Rescue Plan for the special needs, or IDEA. At Maplehurst and Main Street, we put in sensory rooms and upgraded the sensory rooms, which are very important for special needs students. Acoustic panels for our speech room at Main Street. Of all the rooms in the building that needed the acoustics, it was the speech room. A lot of noise, a lot of echo, but the acoustic panels really, helped tremendously with that, with the sound. And I think I mentioned last year the air purifiers that we put in the buildings. That was through a grant through the Bureau of Workers' Comp. And then last but not least, the modular at Maplehurst for our therapists, our speech and language. As you know, those of you that have been at Maplehurst last year, they were working in the hallways with their students, didn't have much privacy, a lot of distractions. So the modular has been a godsend for our therapists because now they have their own space. If you've been out there or been in it, it has 4 offices in it with a work area. So it has been wonderful for our therapists. And all the furnishings for the modular, we purchased through our ARP, the special ed grant also. So.
And Mrs. Gerber gave me the next segue into people matter most, and Joyce knows that's where you spend your most money as well. So going through my list, we had our learning loss subs that were provided at every student building. So the 6 buildings, we had learning loss subs that were built in. We had 6 elementary teachers that were paid for through our ESSER funds. The piece that we mentioned a lot with our EL and looking at literacy was the addition of our literacy coordinators in Beth Scheid and Jenica Reamer. So they have been doing so much for our district in that they've started at their own building, so Maplehurst and Pleasant, and they're actually working together to grow that to League, and then that's growing to Main Street to working there. So you've seen they presented in front of this board all the data they're giving, and obviously what are we doing with that data? Like they're working with teachers that have a huge impact on them working with individual kids. So that's a critical part. I know the question always becomes, once ESSER money runs out, can we continue? And I would say that's a critical part to continue is the 2 literacy coordinators. We have those, we've seen the value, and we want to continue that. So that's a critical play because I know that's always a question. Once the money runs out, what can't you do of the things that we're talking about we've done here in the past year and a half? We've had literacy tutors, so you've hired primarily from our retired teacher ranks. We've had a few that have not retired, but are available, and they've helped. So they have helped out primarily at Pleasant, where we have testing going on. Debbie Loeffler, who's a longtime high school teacher here, she's actually back at Norwalk High School this year and helping with EL. So a lot of individual pull-out, kids that need assistance in the English language. Summer custodial help for our building grounds. So a lot of our ranks of just out of high school, college students that have helped with our current staff and maintenance, they have been paid through ESSER funding as well. The big purchase, which obviously the last 2 years, in addition with Stuff the Bus, is the school supplies. So helping assist that with our students and families that need those school supplies, if those are covered, that obviously was a part of this. Fees paid to go cashless with our pay schools was a big part as well. I talked about the excitement of the not just people, but the importance of dogs too. So whether you like this or not, we're looking to potentially have a dog here. And don't smile yet. We're looking next year for you all. So 2 dogs for the district, looking for 1 Labrador, probably mid-year for our 2 elementary schools. And then next year, hopefully getting a dog for you all and the middle school. So that's the plan. So we'll have 2 dogs in the district, and Jackie White, our counselors, have done a lot of work to establish that part. The one part we definitely want to, we talked about, we haven't done yet, is the learning bus. That's still, we have buses available, and I would not shy of saying anything from what played out Friday, but we have buses that are available that we want to convert to a learning bus to have mobile, and we can move them from building to building and provide a lot of fun activities that teachers, counselors can use as you go from site to site. So that was my share of the people, the dogs, and the buses that we think had an impact or will have an impact on our district.
Sure, so this sounds expensive, right? Our ESSER three money was the biggest amount of money that we received in our ESSER grants. We received $5.2 million. We spent just a little about 2.8 million last year, and the remainder of it is going to be spent this year. A lot of the bills are coming in, like Jen said, the Clever Touches didn't come until later, so we're just now paying those bills. And the rest of it, we pretty much have it all allocated for the rest of this year with our wages and benefits, and then we do have some left for school supplies to continue that for the rest of this year for what we paid of the parent school supplies. We also have our stipend set aside for next year for all of our staff, so that's ready to go. So we do pretty much have it all spent. So that's a good thing.
I just have a question. Could we have the literacy coordinators come back for an update? I mean, we haven't had them for a while, and we've had like the stats they bring, and
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
nice to see it. And I'd
Yeah.
like to have them come back, and their energy is awesome, and maybe, I don't know, special
think,
presentation or something.
November, we're going to be pretty healthy on what we have on the books already, but
I mean, anytime.
December,
Yeah.
December, we'll talk to the two ladies and
I think, yeah.
What was the total savings?
For what?
You said it was 57,000?
Yeah, it was, we paid 57,000 out of the $279,000 cost. And then with the phones, we saved about $100,000 by switching.
The 57, the E-rate program, that's the Universal Schools and Libraries program that everyone pays on their telecommunications bill, whether you have a cell phone or you still have a landline or anything. Everybody pays a portion of it, and then the schools and libraries are able to ask for reimbursement for certain things.
So those weren't ESSER funds?
No, yeah, no. And the phone bill, that's a big thing. We're gonna see how the phone bill works out, and the same with the internet going forward, because we've always paid huge phone bills, and the way things are now, we were paying for a long distance, which, I know, it never made sense, but, and we've looked at the phones a couple times along the way to try and do something with them, so this will be good. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back when we had, what was it, voice over IP, that's when I thought the long distance would have went away, but there was something with the phones that it was still required, I don't really know, but, yeah, so that should be, we should see that going forward.
Jen said high praise for the district. I have to applaud both Joyce and Dan. I feel them working together. What we talked about was going to be ESSER use funding and so many of the grants and other opportunities that they tapped into, that we're able to pull that money, because obviously we only have so much money that we need to use, that we have to use, and obviously what best use of that money, but pursuing different grants and things that we have never done before, that is a huge addition to this district. So I have to applaud Mr. Ballman for doing that, because teachers even are knowing that when we need to make something happen, that I'd like to see this, they're knowing that Mr. Ballman's the person they go to, because he knows what can we tap into from wellness grants, other activities. So huge thank you for Dan and Joyce working together, and others, but like I said, they're the point of making those good things happen. So
100% agree. Thank you. Any other discussion?
So I just want to make a comment. I think with ESSER funds and with the grant funds that we've been fortunate to get, we can focus on the money, right? We can focus on what we were able to purchase and some of the opportunities we had because of it. But for me, it's not about the money, it's actually about the moments we get to facilitate. So we got a message today, I think the board did, from Maria Goodsight, who is an intervention specialist at the middle school. I think it's a good opportunity for us to maybe lean into that just a little bit. Here's what she had to say. She said, "Today was a day that reminds me why we do what we do in education. I was asked to be a guest teacher at the interactive day with the students in our district that serve in our self-contained classrooms. Today's events enhance the movement curriculum that the students in the MD classes are learning in their classrooms. Today's activities allow them to see how toy cars, robots, rockets, and their bodies can move. It was well organized and thought out by the staff. How awesome that we can provide interactive stations to allow students to participate in hands-on activities that are tied to their classroom lessons, therapy sessions, and maneuvering social activities. Allowing these opportunities for these students to learn in ways that are effective to their needs is key. Today was a day that proved what we do in education is different for each learner, but that all deserve to learn new ideas and concepts that are reflective of what typical peers are learning in the general education classroom. The intervention specialist staff and therapists among our buildings are top-notch. Their dedication and drive for these students is so inspiring. Even when some students were having a moment, they were able to give the time needed to get them engaged in the task. In addition to our staff, the high school students who dedicated their time to the activities today were so patient and kind. I'm proud of the trucker community that we have here in Norwalk. It's truly amazing to have these experiences for both the typical students and students with special needs in our district. There are definite takeaways for both groups that will last a lifetime. Thanks for allowing these extraordinary moments in our district. Again, these are the moments I think we have to celebrate. These are the moments that this funding allows for, and that's why it's important to continue.
It was very, very moving, including her.
Yeah.
She makes a huge difference, and yeah, that was really powerful. Anything else? No? Public participation. Each person who wishes to address the board will be asked to give his or her name and address. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes in length. If after everyone who wishes to do so has had the opportunity to speak, additional comments can be made up to a total allotted time of 30 minutes. Okay. We'll go into treasurer's reports. Mrs. DePont.
Okay, items for approval. You have the minutes, you have 2 meetings worth of minutes. We had our regular meeting on September 12th, and we had a special meeting on September 21st. Then we have the September 2023 financial reports, which I printed you out a whole new copy and left them at your station there because I did have an error on it that I discovered. In the comparative statement, when I changed it to pull from the formulas, it was pulling month to date instead of year to date. So that's why I printed you off new ones and I have uploaded new ones. And, when I was going over, I'm like, oh, this just doesn't look right. So I printed you off new ones so that way it's correct. There wasn't too much that occurred actually in September. Probably the biggest thing is we received our Medicaid settlement that I was hoping you'll remember that would come last year. It's actually for 2 years ago, but it did not. It didn't show up until just in September. It was $129,478. And that's our settlement. We get paid interim claims as the year goes on, and then we do an adjustment in the settlement. And we haven't actually agreed upon procedures on it to make sure we're doing it correctly, and then they pay us for the claims. Medicaid is something that we need to do for our students. So it's not extra money coming in, it's being reimbursed for our speech therapy, our OT, our PT, our nurses, our social worker, and all of that. The other big thing was the roll banks and homesteads arrived. That's pretty much on par. Homestead has been going down. I think that's not so much that we have less people that are eligible for homestead, but the dollar amount has decreased. So new people coming on, turning 65 have to meet an income eligibility. Whereas if you were before that, you were grandfathered in. So I think that's part of it.
How much is that eligibility?
I didn't look it up.
It was 32,000, wasn't
It is less. It is supposed to be going up. It's indexed for inflation. So the budget bill was supposed to be increasing it. So that's good. And they are still, they have that new bill that was introduced, the 70 over 70 to freeze property taxes for any person who is over 70 making less than 70,000 a year. So hopefully that gets some serious traction because that would be huge. And it's reimbursed. The missing taxes are reimbursed to the taxing entity. So it's win-win for everybody, which is kind of how homestead works also. Because the school districts and everybody else that receives tax money is reimbursed for the homestead exemption. So it's a win-win. When does that ever happen, right? So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So for the financials, that was pretty much, and we did have 2 new CDs come on, both for over 5%. We have another one that's coming on, but it was, didn't hit until October 4th, so it doesn't show it's in the holding pattern. So that's really exciting. These are CDs that we purchased on the secondary market. So we have some that are still on their lower interest rates, but we can't cash them in because we have to sell them to somebody else in secondary market, and then they are sold at a discount because they have low interest rates. So we're hanging on to them. But as these lower ones roll off with the higher ones coming in, that is increasing where we're at. And our STAR account is at 5.52. So that's the difference it makes in our interest income is just amazing. You go from like nothing to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in interest, so that's huge.
0.3%, 0.35,
Mhm.
yeah. And that we had, what, 4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had one at 5.3, so yeah, that was really exciting. So there isn't a whole lot actually for September. Next month will be the big month because we'll be doing, the forecast. We'll be going over the 5-year forecast. We'll be talking about the new state funding, which is actually out there for October. We won't receive our first payment until this Friday, but and usually they never have it out ahead, so I'm pretty excited. They did have the numbers out ahead, so I'm able to start looking at and seeing where we're at. So that was exciting. So next month's going to be a big fun month. Then we have FMLA. We have 2 employees that are going to be off on the family medical leave. The Wellness Committee, this is another one of the grants that we received through Medical Mutual is our third-party provider for the HESI Insurance Consortium. We are self-funded. We don't buy the policy for them, but Medical Mutual reimburses HESI a certain amount of money to be used for wellness, and then HESI reimburses that by the number of district employees on the insurance. So anyhow, we're going to receive $20,000 in wellness money, which is what our wellness committee uses to do different things. We have Wellness Wednesday where we have healthy snacks, and they started a new thing this year with the birthday coffins, so that's kind of neat. And also we pay our wellness committee because they do this outside of their school day. So that's what I'm asking for here is to approve the stipend again, paid out of the wellness grant for, we have 1 person from each building. Next, we have our onboard instructor for the school buses. The hourly rate, this has not been increased. This is another one I know we kind of had missed increasing our sub rates there for a while and some classified staff. And we missed our OBI. We haven't increased that since when we changed it, which I think was back in 2016. So 32.50 is what I'd like it to be. That is the top rate for just above for a regular bus driver. And OBI has special training and they have to attend additional training on top of the bus driver training, and then they go out and they train our new bus driver. So it's really important that we recognize the amount of work that goes into this. Our OBI also does training for other districts, and then we build a district whenever we do that. While we're on school buses, we would like to change the school bus training to $15 per hour, which will cover for 15 hours of class time, which is required to receive a school bus license, and 12 hours of drive time, which is also required. It may take people more than 12 hours to be able to drive correctly, but we would like to, that's what's required by law, that they have this training. So we would like to pay them, it's at $15 an hour for the training. And we would also like them to commit to North City Schools for at least a year, or we would ask them to reimburse us the cost of the training. Next, we have North Catholic School Disposal. These are items that are purchased with their state auxiliary funds that runs through the school district, and they're asking to dispose of them because they are outdated curriculum and technology items. The next one is our purchasing card rebate. This is actually a revised code. I'm required to let you know what our rebate is every year on our purchasing card, which we use just like a credit card, but there are now rules put onto this credit card, even though you use a purchasing card. You can't just use it as a credit card. You have to have a purchase order in place and follow the regular budgetary rules with it. But because the payment method is a credit card, it comes with additional rules. One of which is that I shall annually file a report with you telling you what rewards we received. Well, this year, we received $670.99 for our credit card. We get it through the OASBO benchmark program. It's a PNC card. We also started something new this year. Our first one was in April. This is called the Repay. This is through the SEView program. And what it is when we pay our bills for companies that accept a credit card that we're not using our PNC card for, but they accept a credit card, we do this with an ACH2 with the Repay company. And then the Repay company uses credit card to pay for these vendors. So there's a time lag, right? That's how they make their money. So then they rebate us for how much is spent each month. And this is really, actually, I'm kind of surprised it's turning into some serious money. So we just started this in April, and we've already received $1,586.34. So it's already double what we had on our credit card. I really thought that one was too good to be true when I heard about it, but it's actually every month you get a direct deposit. Like, okay. And finally, we have donations. We have the credit union, Vacation Land Credit Union donated for the Reading Under the Lights program that we had. $3,500. This covered the t-shirts and the books and the different things that the principals got for the kids. We also had $1,000 from Mary Bauer for our drama department, and $1,000 donated by the North Eagles to provide a set of our stadium sets for something, and we didn't charge them for that, and they were nice enough to donate $1,000.
Thank you, thank you to those people.
Yeah. There it was, and that's all I have for you this month.
Joyce, we have a motion to accept all items on your treasury reports.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
I do have a question. What, bus driver? So that $32.50, that's basically an instructor pay
Yes,
for that. What are we paying the bus drivers now?
they're on the salary schedule. 1873, I think, is starting bus driver wage, and it's just under, it's like 32.43 is top if you're at step 27.
So is that about average for the all districts?
Well, not all districts have an OBI. There's only a few districts that actually have an OBI, which is why we have to train other districts.
So, okay, so would they?
But
be
you mean
paying-
a bus driver starting?
Yeah, bus driver, because we're having an issue with bus drivers,
Mhm.
hiring bus drivers.
Yes, we are. So that's why we went to.
We're hiring bus drivers.
We need bus drivers. So that's why we went to a guaranteed 5 hours for our bus drivers. And benefits, insurance benefits is the same that our 8-hour employees receive. Because prior to this, our bus drivers were paying a prorated amount of the insurance, and our insurance is our medical insurance is very expensive. So it was expensive for them. So now in the last contract, negotiated agreement, those are the two things we changed to try and entice more bus drivers in. And we added a permanent sub-bus driver position.
So it's better.
We have much better benefits than the other
Benefits.
Yeah, which
Our
is part of
pay-
the compensation if you know.
I'm just trying to emphasize that.
Right, and our pay is pretty much in line with other districts. I mean, I think we might be a little under some on starting, but we're higher on the top end. And we're probably more than some other, but it's pretty much competitive, yes. It's not probably competitive with the private sector, but it's a much better job than the private sector driving a school bus, because you get the kids and they're a lot of fun. So everybody should want to be a school bus driver.
That's really good benefits.
So let's get a commercial in here. So you need a regular driver's license, and then you need to get a CDL,
Correct? You need
and then go through the training, take the test, pass the test, then you training, bingo.
Right, and our OBI will train you to get your CDL. You don't have to go get your CDL on your own. Our OBI teaches you how to drive,
Okay.
and then you go get a Class B CDL.
Class
and you
B.
get an endorsement. You get an S endorsement for school bus, you get a P for passenger, and then you have to have an air brace endorsement.
And that allows a bus driver to do the buses and then a van too, right?
Yes. A van driver needs an endorsement, I believe. Well, I'm not sure what the van driver requirements are, but they're less.
We actually had several new faces in today because I think they saw the early release of the agenda from the media and that had some interest there, so new faces. Because I said, what are we doing? We're incentivizing new people because we know our current pool of bus drivers is not going to suffice, is not sustainable long-term for our needs. So clearly we want to draw people in. Like, for example, a director of operations, like a treasurer, for example.
I was just gonna
And
say,
if I learn from them, maybe a superintendent even, so.
I was just gonna say, I think that should be recognized. I mean, we are looking at, we had a crisis last year of shortage of buses, and we have administrators that already have the license that it's not like their work goes away. They're stopping what they're doing to help drive bus, so our kids are getting to and from school. And then we have these two on the end helping, who have so much work on their plate, getting their license so they can jump in and help to make sure that our routes are covered. And I think that should be applauded. I mean, really, it's awesome.
So we have our junior class up here. Government class, you guys in? Yeah. Here is a job, maybe, later on.
Once your driving skills get a little better.
Yeah, but they will.
Safety first.
And when you think about it, this is a job, you're not gonna get laid off here. There's a
Secure.
shortage, yeah.
You do need to be 21.
21, well, that
That's what I
comes
think.
fast enough, believe me, yeah.
Joyce, in terms of the instructor, is there only one? Or there's a?
We only have one OBI right now. Yes.
So any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Personnel, Mr. Coop.
Yes, the resignation, we have Keith Blakely. So if you're not gonna be a bus driver and then drive a big rig and be a trucker, so that's what he's gonna do. So you can make more money, if you're having a lesson here, you can make more money hauling things across the country and transporting students. So that's Keith Blakely's plan. You'll see later on the list, he still wants to be a sub for us, but some personal reasons, that's why he is changing, but yeah, he is jumping into the big rig and doing that for his occupation now. Number two, you'd approve the van driver position and that job description. We've actually hired the person now, Daniel Darovich. He will be starting effective October 20th, 2023. The next line of individuals there, that is just effective as of discussion today with the cafeteria managers. So one building, so the 6 kid buildings, there'll be a cafeteria manager in each of those buildings. So we have 4 of those individuals have been very much in the cafeteria, and they are as a cook and moving to cafeteria manager. We have one who's been a special needs aide, and Rebecca Shield. She will be a cafeteria manager. And then there's one, which is number 3, Sonia. She is actually the one and only of those 6 cafeteria managers that is coming from outside the district. Thus, you see the probationary period listed there for her length of the contract. So those are the 6, and we hope be October 16th, so the Monday or shortly thereafter, they will be running point for each of the 6 buildings. They will be responsible for inventory, asking students, what food do you like? What do you like to change out? They'll be that and very much a critical part in directing the needs back to Mr. Kraft. Number 5, employment of substitutes. So we have both classified and certified listed there. 6, employment of special contracts. We have a swimming assistant coach, Audra Rooker, Norwalk Middle School, Jeremy Bliss as boys basketball coach, and several volunteers in Bethany Arnett and Kim Moore. That is the personnel.
Do you have a motion to accept all items under personnel? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Great. Board discussions, meetings.
Just have a couple of things that'll be brought up tomorrow morning. Next Wednesday night, they're going to have their annual fall advisory meeting, and that's when they invite 100 or more business owners over to discuss their contributions to Rehoboth and, I guess what's going on. On Friday, October 20th at 9:30 in the morning, they're having a group called Pastries for Parents. And this is where the parents will come in and they'll meet with the principal and other administrators to discuss how their teams are being prepared both for college and for careers, and take up any questions and concerns that the parents have. That's all we have now.
We have for EOB, we have the special presentation coming here Friday. So with our not being able to bus our kids there,
You mentioned this morning how,
yeah, Mr.
The wheel
King
cut
has worked with Elaine, so they are having that, so the kids will still get their book bags and have a presentation
Oh, so
of
they're
what
coming here.
is offered.
Oh,
So
that's
they're
great.
coming here, so
That's awesome.
the second best option for us
Yeah,
at this point.
Well, that's great. I'm glad they still got to get some exposure to it, so.
he mentioned how we got cut short on the bus drivers these days. We understood.
Legislative report. You want to discuss?
I feel like, yes, I feel like this is like Groundhog Day or something. It's like, okay, House Bill 187 is coming. This is at the state legislature. there's a lot of discussion going on at the state legislature about valuation changes, that the housing market has gone up, valuation has changed. So therefore, people feel that their taxes are gonna go up, which is not exactly valid, because as we've talked about lots of times, the two don't correspond directly, right? There's rollbacks, effective millage rolls back even though your valuation increases. Well, there's concerns there, so they've introduced House Bill 187, which is a way to modify the 20 mil floor. I'm like, we just got to the 20 mil floor, and they're gonna change it. I'm like, how does this happen? It's like Groundhog Day, like you just whack it here and it comes up somewhere else. So I will be sending a letter down to them. I probably should have had a resolution ready, but we don't have a whole lot of information yet. It's kind of like the one that came before with the income tax and reducing the income tax and then changing rollbacks and all that we talked about with House Bill 1. So the 20 mil floor, even for us at the 20 mil floor, we won't see the increase in taxes for everything, because like our last new money levy was in 2015. That was an emergency levy. It's a dollar sum levy, fixed rate levy. So it brings in $1.5 million. It will never bring in more than $1.5 million. So even if everybody's valuation goes up, and it will never bring in more. So it just, there's not a corresponding valuation goes up, your taxes go up. It doesn't work that way. The part of the budget bill was they had this joint property tax review committee, but they, for some reason, are rushing through this, and they're not taking time. They're having a hearing on this tomorrow on the House floor. So it's kind of a concern, because as you know, property taxes are very detailed and difficult to understand, all the moving parts to it. So hopefully they'll slow down and study this a little bit more, but there is a lot out there. The same thing with farming. There's the CAUV, which is a current agriculture use valuation. Farmland is not taxed with anything to do with valuation. It's only a formula that's based upon the crop, the soil type, the interest rate, the capitalization rate. It has nothing to do with the valuation of the land, that you could sell it for more for housing or anything like that. So, but it's the same thing. There's this concern that, you know, property taxes are going to go static. Now, there was not the same concern back in 2009 when valuations plummeted, because the same thing happened. Your millage comes back the other way. But now, you know, they're paying about this. But I just want to assure everybody that it's not like the taxes are going to go static. I just feel like we just got to the floor.
I know you should say how great it was now.
Yes, I've been so excited about it. I'm so excited about the floor. Anyhow, we'll see. I will keep you informed.
Yeah, any other discussion?
Well, I just like to thank Lucy Holtz for this treat. I will tell you, this is award-winning carrot cake.
Now wait till you
If you've never had her carrot cake, you're in for a treat. This is really good. Thank you, Lucy.
Yes, thank you.
Part of the agenda made me think about it. So first, I want to say Reading Under the Lights was awesome. That was great. I loved every part of it. And then I thought it was great that they had T-shirts this year for the donation clarification. That's awesome. And then if you didn't know, the Drama Club does have a play coming out at the end of October, and I hope you all are getting out there and getting your tickets, because I think it's going to be great. Looks really funny. Kids are excited. My daughter's in the class. She wants to stay behind the scenes, but whatever. It's going to be really great. So make sure you get your tickets. It's a play that goes wrong. Oh yeah, play that wrong. Yeah. So I had to look it up. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I think they're still looking for a few things. A certain chair. So if you've seen, they have a Facebook page. They're still looking for a chair for the play. So
Victorian chairs.
yeah, it's like a chase. It's like kind of elongated, but.
Update on the bus repair. So our Anthony Rourke, he's not just a mechanic, like he's a body guy that fixes some body repair. So he is looking to do this at low cost. So sometimes you have to send those things out because your own people can't handle it, but he believes he can address it. So at minimal cost. So that's what, again, a marked decision that's super important to bring him on board, because we are saving a lot of money and having the right person in the job that he could do this, because you send it out to someone else, they're going to charge a lot more. We had a couple instruments were damaged in that as well. So we had one school instrument and then one personal, one of our students' instrument was damaged because it was in that under storage cabinet.
Now, is that gonna be taken care of through their insurance company or?
I'm not sure on that. Talk with Mr. Kish on that, if that's gonna be their personal or how that's handled, but, the initial on game night, I was thinking there was gonna be a lot more on Mr. Kish's report, but when they got back here, went through all the instruments, it was, one school owned and one student owned.
Yeah, it looked like it was passing, it looked like it got it right on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody was okay though. There's
Yes.
no.
Yeah.
Saw a picture of the car, but I didn't see anything of the bus. How bad does that look?
It's mainly that compartment underneath, which not every bus has that, but that's obviously why we're taking those buses. Some of your larger instruments get tucked underneath that. Most with like trumpet size or smaller, they're within your seat, so. As far as task force, so we had a task force meeting, and some of you here were a part of that, meeting with Garmin Miller and kind of a broad mix of our community, talking about the new build. So new school across the street, so we're kind of in the beginning phases of that. So I appreciate if you were in attendance with that. The plan, talking with Garmin Miller, is to have another meeting here around Thanksgiving, so that date is not set yet, either pre or post Thanksgiving. And then going to the community likely in January, right after Christmas break, in January 2024, and then having an invite to our entire community, probably in the Performing Arts Center and or the main gym, where we can speak to hear some of our goals and streamline focus of what the task force, which a group of, we had 42 the other night. There's 20 some other business folks that were busy that evening, so probably 60 individuals that are part of the task force that are, like I said, a broad range, different perspectives, different ideas, and it's nice to have those people in the room and hear what we want for the future of our district. So that is the plan going forward, because I know we had talked task force, community task force with executive meetings in between that, but based on what played the other night, which was very productive, we'll need another task force before we go to the community. So looking to be at the front end of 2024, where we have all, like, everybody's invited in, and let's talk. What do we want to see across the street?
Just a note, I believe we're changing next month's meeting to 7:30.
Yes, so we have our sports banquet for all our fall sports. We would like, if you guys are available, I know some of you are coming back from Columbus, I believe, so maybe we can buy you some time. But we're looking to be with a big group at 6 o'clock and shaking some of our student athletes' hands. And then there'll be breakout sessions. Some of you will have opportunity to go to breakout session, and those should be done or close to by the 7:30 start. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, I have a motion to adjourn. Second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenfeld?
Yes.
Thank you.
Three.